Yeah, with the Zoom stuff, I did a ton. So of course, none of us knew how long this would go. So I tried to adhere to sort of a similar schedule of what we would do in a typical junior year. So we were supposed to have tryouts in April. We didn't. And luckily, I'd already picked the whole team. But we did our fitness testing over Zoom. So I would watch them do the test. So I sent them descriptions of the tests. And again, a lot of them are returnees, so they knew the test. And I watched them do it, with the exception of the conditioning test, which they had to do on their own and send me their scores. They were all very honest on the scores. Like, no, I can tell because I have their previous scores from previous years that no one like said, "Oh, I did great," and was never one of the more fit kids. The fitness testing over Zoom was actually it was glorious for two reasons. One, they could do it on their own time. There was no stress, not the typical stress of when you get the group together. And they just, I felt it when I used to have to do fitness testing, whether it was with Hockey Canada or even my college team, like they didn't seem to have that same kind of stress. But the really cool part about the fitness testing is they didn't do like I call them the validation statements, but in a negative way, the self-deprecation. They didn't go, "Oh, I suck at this. Oh, I hope I do well." And again, I'm sure those of you who've coached women, like we know they do this. "Oh, here it goes. I suck at long jump." No one said it when it was just them with me doing the fitness testing, right? It's like they made those comments when around other people to make sure it was okay if they actually did suck at it, or make other people feel better if they didn't suck at it, or whatever it was. But I didn't see that self-deprecation that is usually rampant during fitness testing. So it was quite like a revelation for me. And I said to the coach who's taking over for me next year that she might consider continuing testing by Zoom from an experiential. There is obviously a value to having everyone together and the motivational cheering on.
Well, Kim, on that, I just put an article from the New York Times about, it's called "The Terrible Teens," and the research just shows what you're talking about is that teenagers act almost totally different by themselves as they do with other people, when they're with their peer group.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go on there. I just wanted to interject that in there.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely check that out. So we did also over Zoom. So we did fitness testing. We had team meetings. And with the team meetings, I would always leave the call. So I ran the Zoom call, but I would leave it on. And God knows what they talked about. I wasn't listening. But I left it on for 15 minutes after I left. And the girls really liked that. So they stayed on, and who knows what they discussed. I don't really care. So that was positive. We did trivia nights. That I led the first one. Then the girls were like, "There's an app for this, Kim. We can do it better." So I said, "Great, you run it." We had a couple girls who were really into trivia. So then they would host the trivia night. One of my assistant coaches did something really cool. She did a scavenger hunt on Zoom. So like we're all sitting here and she would say, "Okay, first contest, go make me a sandwich and bring it back." So they're all at their house, right? So they'd have to run to the kitchen, make a sandwich and bring it back. And the first three kids back, got a point. Or, go to the kitchen and bring back what you think, is Kim's favorite thing to put on a sandwich. And they'd go and grab something. And then so it was just fun stuff like that. Go grab a rake. And there'd be a kid who's like, "I live in a condo, I don't have a rake," or whatever. Or there'd be like a kid who has a rake right there. Like, "Why do you have a rake in your room?" That was actually a really fun one because you got to know the personalities of the kids a little bit. And, it was easy. Like there was no right or wrong answers, but it got this cool energy up within the group. It was super fun. I've done some, obviously with Total Female Hockey, I've done a ton of off-ice stick handling and workout videos. I sent those out to the team to do on their own, just as skill development. But we did another fun one where I send them workout programs every year that it's, they do 4 days a week. It's got videos with it, but I tell them if you have a trainer, which a lot of them do, just make sure your trainer's kind of covering off the same stuff. But I made them put them into 4 small groups, which I rotated every couple of weeks, who was in each group. And I made them run a recovery workout for their group every week. So on Wednesdays, they would pick like one girl is into, I forget what we call it, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So she had her teammates do a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu YouTube video workout. So they all clicked play at the same time on their own devices. And they would do it like not as a Zoom call, but they were doing it simultaneously with the YouTube video. And then they would get together after and say, oh my God, like, could you guys do that move? I can't do that move. Or they would do yoga. I told them they had to do something completely weird, like not a normal hockey workout. So one girl's like, we did a baseball workout. I'm like, I don't even know what that means, but cool. And that was really fun. We made everyone lead the workout. And again, they're not like Jane Fonda-ing the workout, but they're picking it for everybody and they're leading the discussion afterwards. And again, I haven't used this stuff since spring and summer. One of the biggest reasons is a lot of my players picked up part-time jobs as a result of COVID. Typically half our team has part-time jobs throughout the season, but a lot of them picked up jobs at like the Walmarts and the grocery stores. And even a lot of them are working at senior homes because a lot of people who would typically do those jobs don't want to do it because of COVID. So I would say probably at least 80% of my players have jobs now, in addition to what they're trying to do with school and their university aspirations. So I'm trying to be mindful of giving them a lot together for 3 days a week, which is what we practice 3 days a week. But I'm trying not to overburden them with too many other obligations. So if we do a Zoom call now, it might be once every couple of weeks. Because I've always been, it's always family first, then school, then hockey, right? So I don't want to overtake too much of their universe right now. But certainly if they ask for it, I'll facilitate anything, and they do ask, right? Oh, we'd really like to do a Zoom call. Okay, I'll set it up, guys. Like, that's cool.
Can I ask you I want you to put you in my shoes, okay?
Sure.
So our team just folded.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a season. We're not allowed to practice anymore. And I've got players from all 4 Western provinces and the 2 from Japan. And most of them have gone home because they can all do it. Well, not all of them, but 75% can do it online, except for the ones that are working in hospitals and all that, because they have their, part of their program. What would you suggest? Like, this Zoom call is just a new concept to me. Mm-hmm. What if you were me, what would you do with the Zoom call as far as players? Because some players never even met others, because some never even came. So they can meet each other and then have some kind of a training thing.
I would start with the scavenger hunt idea. It was really fun. And
okay.
we started with trivia, and like that was fine, but I found the talkative players or the more outgoing players kind of monopolize the airtime. With the scavenger hunt, because everyone has to bring something back.
Okay.
You can draw out, you can say from a girl who maybe is new or isn't as talkative, you'd be like, oh, Sally, explain what that doll is that you brought, right? So I found it to be, without putting anybody like on notice or making them stick out, like it did allow me to get everyone to communicate or share a little bit. And I knew going in who the quieter kids were. And, I'd make fun of the ones who I've known forever, coached for 5 years, and give them a hard time about whatever they brought out. It had that flow to it. But it's very non-threatening. You're not getting an answer right or wrong, like trivia, which you would think like, we're just doing movie trivia, who cares? But you're going to have kids who never say anything. And then like leave the Zoom on afterwards without you being on, right? So they get to talk. And in the first one, they might not talk, right? And that's okay, right? Because they don't know each other as well. And maybe you have a couple returning players. Maybe you do like two truths and a lie, or something else that one of your returning players can lead. But you don't stay on the call for that, and you just get them like kind of to be comfortable. We had a lot of success with that. It was they really enjoyed it. I think we're going to do another one as one of our 12 days of Christmas challenges. Do another Zoom scavenger hunt. But yeah, that's where I would start, because it's just fun. It's pure fun. It has nothing to do with hockey. So that would be my starting point.
Okay, thanks a lot. That's some great ideas, because this is a totally new world here to have a team, but you don't have a team and all this kind of stuff.
Sort of following up on that, it's a great idea, and I'm kind of thinking I might run it by Peter with the Danish girls. But one of the things you could obviously do, Tom, as part of the scavenger hunt, and maybe Kim did this exactly, but tell them to run and go get the book they're reading right now. Some will be reading one, some won't be. But then obviously you can follow up with, well, why are you reading that book, or what have you learned from it, or what do you like about it, or so you can turn it into a learning exercise for the group about each other. And if you sort of start from that perspective, that you want to help them learn about each other, I'm sure, like Kim said, it sort of becomes pretty easy to just do a fun exercise, but then they don't even realize they're doing a sort of a learn about each other exercise. Cool idea.
Yeah, they do. We did, again, my assistant led it. I'll message her and see if she can send me her questions. She did one of go grab your favorite picture, and some had it on their phone. That some went and grabbed a picture of their grandfather, or their siblings or whatever, and then you saw the pictures and you could kind of talk about it. I mean, the other cool thing about Zoom is you can put them into groups, like smaller groups. So there's a button that allows you to put them into breakout groups. So you can organize your players however you want. You can control who goes in the breakout group, so you can just hit random, and then they can go into smaller groups of 4 or 5, or however you can have breakout groups of 2. I use those a lot. Workouts I did this summer just with Total Female Hockey, and I'd have them do little partner-based challenges, and I just put them in a random breakout group, and they just end up with some girl. They didn't know who it was, and they're both on the screen with each other on Zoom doing this workout challenge. And the players said they loved, and again, those Total Female Hockey ones, I had kids from all over the world who were never going to meet each other in person. They weren't even teammates, but they got so into those breakout groups and those activities in the small breakout groups. And they would ask me at the beginning, are we doing breakout groups today? Because I wouldn't do them every workout. And they loved that. So there's other ways to, I wouldn't necessarily use the breakout groups on the first call, but to kind of get them working more closely in smaller groups. That got a really good energy out of the call too.
What would you think of, I love this breakout group idea, that, TJ is in charge of the D, and Mel's in charge of the goalies, and Mike is in charge of the forwards. What would you think of the breakout groups, that they have those separate coaches with their group? That went through my mind.
Yeah, for sure. You'd have little leaders, and then maybe, they come up with, ridiculous names, and you have them do something that's not related to their position at all, but you could definitely segment them by position. I would do it with me sometimes based on we had 5 returning players, 5 rising midgets, and 5 kids from outside the organization. So I would put them like a returnee with a midget with an outside kid. So we'd have groups of 3. So they were mixed that way. So sometimes I would do it strategically, and sometimes I just hit the random button. And I would say, I'm just hitting random. And sometimes I would tell them I'm hitting random, even when I wasn't hitting random. So I would actually.
You make the groups on Zoom? Is that you can?
Yeah, you can make the groups. So once you have everybody in the call,
yeah,
you just put them into groups based on that. It's a little bit clunky. Like, you can do it before the call if you know everyone's going to be there, and then you can do it. I would usually just do it live during the call and kind of move them how I wanted them to be. But if you hit the random button, it just does it for you. You say, oh, I want 4 people per group. You hit random. and they just get sorted. But if you knew you were going to have everybody on the call, you could pre-arrange the groups beforehand, and kind of get them to shoot out that way. But that's a kind of a fun add-on beyond just having, and again, you probably have 25 people at least on the screen. That's a lot to manage. The breakout groups kind of make it.
I have to get better at Zoom then.
Well, I've done 200 of them, and I'd say I've already forgotten most of it. But that's why I would say in the beginning, just doing the scavenger hunt with everyone, where you don't need to shoot people into the breakout groups, just gets you and everyone else comfortable, and then you can play with it from there.
I'm thinking on the guy's side, what you said, Kim. And just the use of screen share and video, guys tend to get into the X's and O's, and at least the coaches. But boy, Dominic can do what he said they did with Stockton, where players in their breakout room could look at the video and then come together and share their thoughts, which he went through, and it happened to be the best experience of the year, according to the players. I think the potential for the use of technology, that's one of the advantages of this. We would not be on today, but I find communicating face to face, seeing you speak, hearing you speak, watching body language, interaction. There's an element to it that is really advantageous. So I'm looking forward to it, getting better at it and playing with it in some way. But boy, the breakout groups, Tom, they've got potential to build a team and keep a team, even though you don't play any games. And it'll keep you busy, but it's good busy.
We did it a ton before we even got on the ice, because we weren't allowed to skate in the summer with our team. So we did it from pretty much April till August, fairly regularly via Zoom. The girls showed up on the